Welcome back to Insight. Hi, I'm Hammer, and I would like to welcome back Heather Foster. Heather, thank you so much for being here.
Yes.
Let's find out about things at Foster Financial right now.
So, well, obviously the market's in a crashing downturn right now with inflation and interest rates rising. But I always like to try to focus on the positive, which means what can you do to take advantage when we have these market cycles, which again, this is normal, this is natural. There's some things about this market cycle that's a little bit different. Again, we were at all-time market highs and all-time like zero interest rates. Those two things normally don't work like that. So we had a little bit of issues with bonds as well as stocks here recently. But how do you take advantage of it is really the next question to ask. Meaning, all right, there's always a way to take advantage of everything that happens in life in general. So the way to take advantage of this market downturn, one of the best opportunities here, aside from Roth conversions, meaning converting IRA money to Roth, when you do it in a market drop, what you're essentially doing is you're going to pay a lot less taxes because your value of your money has dropped. You convert it to the Roth IRA. When the money comes back, so when the markets come back and the gains come back, it'll happen inside of the Roth, which is completely tax-free. So again, do you want to pay more taxes on a lower amount of money or a higher amount of money? Well, most people say, well, of course, the lower amount. So do the Roth conversions now. The second idea is to do what we call wash sales. Wash sales are where we're actually taking advantage of this drop from the perspective of if you've got stocks or things with large amounts of capital gains in them, you sell them right now. And here's the kickback. Everyone goes, but if you sell, then I lose. And you're right. Once you sell a stock, you would lose if you don't reinvest it. But what we do is we go laterally, meaning if you're selling a stock, let's say it's in a tech sector. You sell a tech sector stock, you need to buy another tech sector stock. You have to be out of the first stock for 30 days in order to count that loss or that gain against it. Then you can buy it back 30 days later. What this essentially does is anything that you've purchased probably in the last 10 years has losses on it. You counteract that towards anything you've owned for many years that have gains on it, and you wash the gains against the losses. What it does is it frees up cash flow that you no longer have to pay taxes on. So when you talk to people and you say, hey, do you want to pay tax on this gain? Or if you were strategic with your advisor when the markets dropped and you did these wash sales, you won't pay any taxes. So if you are not getting in and actually strategizing with your financial advisor, and again, mixing that with a tax conversation, you are losing more than what you're losing right now in the market because you're not taking advantage of this drop.
I think that's why people need to reach out and call you because this isn't something that I say, wow, you have really good information. I'm going to do all this on my own.
Yeah.
This is something that takes a strategy that is there every day, not you decided to do it just today.
No, you really have to have a strategy because, again, what I just said was if you sell something at a gain, we need to counteract it with selling something at a loss. Again, even though the word loss scares people, you're repositioning. You're going in a lateral position from stock to stock to take advantage of this market drop. The last thing I wanted to mention that's a good idea right now is if you are in mutual funds in an after-tax account. So if you have what we call an individual account, a joint account, get out of the mutual funds because mutual funds by nature are not tax efficient, meaning that they distribute their own internal gains and losses to the shareholders. The shareholders can never control from year to year whether they're going to get hit with gains or not because they don't know because they didn't actually sell it. The mutual fund manager sold something inside of that fund. So reposition potentially to exchange traded funds is a good thought process. Again, you need to lay out a tax strategy. You need to work with your CPA. You need to work with your financial person. But maybe it's time to get out of that mutual fund. Let's say it's a growth fund and go to a growth exchange traded fund, which their capital gains and their capital losses do not distribute down to the shareholders. These are intense tax strategies. If you don't understand them or if your advisor's not talking to you about them, someone needs to talk about this stuff because we only get these opportunities when the markets crash like they currently are. Take advantage of the different market cycles. There's things to take advantage of when the markets are going up. There's also ways to take advantage of these markets when they're going down.
So somebody that had 10 years ago, 15 years ago, they talked to somebody at work as they were thinking about retiring. Not necessarily do those strategies that you had 15 years ago, do they work today? And that's what we're talking about.
If you have just set it and forget it, you're losing out on opportunity. It's not that the buy and hold approach doesn't work. Buy and hold approach works because it works because long term you're not letting emotions dictate your choices. But there is another layer to the buy and hold approach, which is strategy. If you are not using strategy behind the investment choices, and again, what you own, why you own it, how long do you own it, then you're potentially losing more in not only the investments, but then also on taxes.
Is it hard to convince folks of some of those facts? Because I'm like, this is my money, get away, this is my money right here.
Honestly, no, it's not. Here's the thing with most people that come to our office. They're like, I saw you, it sounds complicated, I don't want to deal with it, but I know what I'm hearing is right. It's true, it makes sense. But that sounds very complicated, and that's what people pay us for, is to take the complicated scenarios into our own hands. We do it for them. They just know that we're saving them taxes on the back end.
And you do a great job of it. Thank you very much, Heather, for joining us here today. And if you have those financial questions, call the number on your screen for a complimentary consultation today.